Good afternoon. I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Thursday, June 23rd, and it's a busy day, particularly in the courts of the state in the United States. First of all, the Arkansas Supreme Court today, in a 4-3 decision, tossed out a lawsuit by death row inmates trying to stop executions on the ground that the state hadn't provided enough information about the drugs that are being used in the process, and saying that there's a chance that they'll be unconscionably punished in a cruel and unusual way if the process goes forward. The court said no, the executions can go forward. However, there's a wrinkle. They have to be executed, somebody does, by June 30th next week, or else the drugs that are available will be expired, and there aren't any others readily available. It's unclear whether that can happen. I think we have a lot of questions yet to go. The Arkansas Supreme Court today also upheld the state law that basically says a judge needs to retire after age 70 or loses retirement. There's some exceptions to this, but you can't take office on a new term after 70 if you want to keep your retirement benefits are pretty good. The court said other states have done the same, and it's okay here. The U.S. Supreme Court today split 4-4, and that meant they left in place a lower court ruling in Texas that put a blockade to President Obama's plan to change the immigration system and allow some people now living in the shadows to move to legal residency in the United States. That ends the plan most likely for the remainder of Obama's term. The Supreme Court made an important decision, a 4-3 ruling that upheld the University of Texas affirmative action plan. You may consider race in some cases in tailoring your admission plans. Justice Anthony Kennedy joined some liberal judges in that decision. Interesting item today, it emerges that the Cherokee Nation, which runs a number of casinos in Oklahoma, is a backer of the amendment campaign to have an amendment on the Arkansas ballot that will allow legal casinos in 3 counties, Boone, Washington, and Miller County. The Cherokee Nation said if this is approved, it would be the operator of a casino in Fayetteville. No word yet on who else might be in line to operate casinos in those other 2 counties. They can bring a significant amount of money to the campaign, of course, and that's important. The lawyers for Bobby Moore, a young man who was killed by a Little Rock police officer in 2012 during what was an apparent burglary on a parking lot of an apartment project in West Little Rock, had a news conference in Little Rock today to call for a 3rd attempt at trying the police officer who killed him, Josh Hastings. His first 2 trials ended in mistrials. The attorneys say they found a new witness that police never talked to. Prosecutor Larry Jegley says he's unlikely to consider a new trial based on this evidence. He gave it 2 good tries, and the jury split in very different ways on those 2 times. The House Democrats sit-in the U.S. House of Representatives to try and force a vote on gun control ended today. After more than 25 hours, they made their point. Republicans called it a publicity stunt. It was just that. It was to draw attention to the fact that the majority of America wants some stronger gun control laws, but the Republican Party, which is controlled by the NRA, simply won't allow it. Connor Eldridge, the Democrat who's running for U.S. Senate from Arkansas, has called on John Bozeman to do something about it, to stand up and be counted on the gun control issue. Bozeman says Eldridge is just playing politics with tragedy. I don't know when there's a better time to talk politics about improving the situation in the country after 49 people were slaughtered in a nightclub in Orlando, Florida. News on the police beat today. The police are investigating a homicide during the midday at the Frontier Diner on I-30. And Bryant police are looking for a man who robbed the Bank of the Ozarks branch on Reynolds Road in Bryant. He looked like he was heading to Destin, driving a black SUV, wearing shorts and some flip-flops, and left a very good picture on the surveillance cameras. You can check it out. I was worked up this morning by news that they had a big happy check passing ceremony in Mayflower yesterday, at which Exxon gave $500,000 to the city of Mayflower, a big blown up check with Exxon on it. You'd have thought Exxon had done the city a big favor. This was just paying for some of the damage they did when a pipeline with faulty welding flaws exploded and ruined a neighborhood and poured oil into some wetlands in the city of Mayflower. Mayflower says, well, we'll get to build a civic center with this. Well, they will if they can find some more money to finish the job. ExxonMobil didn't deserve a pat on the back here. They should have paid some money, and maybe they didn't pay enough. If I were mayor, I wouldn't be smiling and taking a check from the guys who are denying climate change all over the world. And finally, State Representative Greg Leding of Fayetteville asked the Bureau of Legislative Research to put together a little something for him to make a point. And it was an interesting report that showed that a low-income family, a typical family of 4 making $60,000 with an average student, comparing the prices at the University of Arkansas and Harvard, it'd be cheaper to go to Harvard because of the amount of financial support they provide for poorer students. Well, Harvard and UA are different. Harvard has a big endowment. They're very selective in admission. Letting's point is that that Arkansas and the University of Arkansas aren't doing enough to make it easier for kids to go to college, particularly those from modest means, and not leave without a crushing debt. Some schools in the SEC, he noted, do have some no-loan programs where people in the lower income echelon can go to college and get out without having crushing debt burdens. It's a subject we ought to talk about. The state's giving less money to colleges. The scholarship amounts from the lottery have not lived up to expectations, and they're mostly going to higher income people. Something needs to be done. Greg Letting wanted to make a point by bringing Harvard into the discussion, and apparently he did, because it's getting a lot of talk. Take a look. All of this is on the Arkansas blog, arkansasblog.com. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.